Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. As you can see here, we're flying along with one of our planes leaving Mesa, and in this episode, I think we'll be doing a little bit more with planes by perhaps adding one or two more airports to the map and connecting those up with planes. So currently right now on the map we have Mesa and Sacramento covered with airports, and I think what I'd like to do is add an airport near Birmingham and then another one near Montgomery. So what's good about the airport in Montgomery is that would actually provide another form of public transportation between Mesa and Montgomery that doesn't involve a bus to Downey and then a train all the way across the map to Jackson and then a transfer into Montgomery. This allows people in Mesa to pretty much just hop on a plane, fly over the river, and land over in Montgomery. It's a pretty short trip and probably a little unrealistic, but I think it's definitely much needed in this case. And then as for Birmingham, I think it's just so far removed from pretty much any other city that having an airport here would just help to serve connect it to the larger public transportation mesh that we have going on with the rest of the map. So I think we'll start out here in Birmingham and we'll do this whole thing pretty basic first. We'll set up the airports, the roads, the bus routes, the connections and everything, and then we'll come back through and detail what we can at each airport. But for Birmingham, taking a look around here, I think a good spot for it is actually right up here on this little flat area on top of this hill. We just have to delete this fuel refinery, and I believe this should be more than enough space to fit an airport up here. Alright, so let's grab our airport, and it does look like it'll fit. It might be a little weird, but I think we'll be able to make this blend in pretty well once we get it placed. So let's just find the right spot that we want it. I think right about here seems to do at least minimal damage to the terrain around it. So now we've done that, let's configure this. We most likely won't need a cargo terminal, so we can get rid of that. The hangar we'll place down later. So as for the main building, I think we will center it as best we can on the runway. It's a little hard to tell where center is. We'll get one passenger terminal on each end, and then I think our hangar will place sort of over on this end where it probably won't be seen too much. Alright, so now everything is flattened and smoothed up here to match the level of the airport. We can come in and add a road coming right across the front here. I think that lines up just about as close as we can get to this. So we'll leave that just like that. We'll bring this over as this will be part of our parking lot, and it looks like it's already as flat as it can be. And then over here we can extend and continue bringing up this road up along the side of the hill here. So we'll get it to come up until pretty much about here where it gets level with the terrain again, and then it'll simply turn in like so, and I think that's it in terms of our road connections. So now that's going to be pretty much what we do for roads. We'll want to get a bus station in here, and I think right here at the end next to the hangar is a pretty good spot for one. So we'll get that lined up. We don't need anything too big, I don't think. And then if we've lined this up properly, we should be able to connect right in, although that's a little bit off. We'll definitely want to align this so that the road is perfectly straight. Alright, so this is probably about as good as we're going to get. We can come in and add a couple of our buildings here. So we'll get one here and here. Alright, so that's pretty much everything that we needed to set up here. I think we'll redo our bus loops here in Birmingham, and then we should be able to get buses up and running, and then we'll move on to Montgomery and get that airport set up. Alright, so the way I'm thinking about doing our bus loops is we'll start pretty much where our train station and larger bus stop is, and we'll go off of that. So I think this area will be all one bus loop, and then everywhere down here will be another bus loop, and then we'll have a shuttle going from our train station stop up to the airport. So I think that's something similar to how we do in Sacramento. So hopefully that'll work out just fine, and people can still connect to it pretty easily. But I guess we won't find that out until we get things up and running. Alright, so here is our new bus route that goes around the city. It starts here, comes up to these stops, up just above the distribution center, and then back down through the major parts of the city. So now, in order for this to be able to handle all of our lines, we're going to have to add some extra terminals here, and it looks like that's not updating. Maybe we have to hit play. Okay, so I think we just have to replace this whole thing to get it to look how we want it to. Alright, so this is our new bus station area. We just added in a few extra terminals here for all of our bus loops that will eventually be coming through. So now we can come back and set up everything else. So now we have our loop set up for the top half of Birmingham. Let's get down to this side of Birmingham. Alright, so now we have all of our lines set up, and hopefully these buses don't end up clogging this bus station, but they'll all have to sort of slowly spread themselves out on the line, and after they've done that, we should have a pretty good network of buses flowing through Birmingham. And then the last thing we need to do, I think, is we'll just use a bus stop for our shuttle to the airport, just so we don't overload this even more. And then we'll start out small on these buses, as we're not sure what the demand is going to be. So we'll start out with 6 buses, get those on a line running from this stop up to our airport. So now, while we wait for things to start getting functional here, we can go over to Montgomery and set up the airport over on that end. So finding a good spot for the airport in Montgomery is going to be quite interesting, as there's not really any good large flat areas nearby. I suppose there's one here, but I kind of want to give ourselves some distance between Mesa and Montgomery Airport. There is a possibility it might fit here, but that's a pretty small and awkward area for it. So I actually think maybe there's a possibility we can get an airport in this area here. So let's delete these roads and see if we can get an airport to fit here. It might not look the best right away, but I think this might really be the only logical spot in terms of what the terrain is giving us. And so it seems like we could probably place this here, which we don't really have a choice but to do that. We'll do landscaping to blend this in a bit more, but I think this might be the best that we get. Alright, so we finally got this area flattened out. We used some of the trees to help hide the base of that cliff there just a little bit. We just have to come through and flatten this out again so we didn't get that terrain issue, but now this should be set up well enough. We'll just come through and double check that everything is flattened over here, so we get a nice flat road as we come through and add this in. Actually, I think we'll reorganize the airport first so we can get this placed in We'll place it a little bit closer to this side, so probably about there. Do like that, and then we'll get the hangar on the end here. So this creates a nice pocket for us to detail a parking lot and bus station. So now we should be able to place this road and then continue it straight on to connect us up to this road here. So next, let's just clean up our edges once again. So we'll flatten out some of this terrain just to blend it in a bit more, and then we can get into adding our bus routes and other things. So getting our bus station in here, this one will actually be pretty simple, as we'll just add it just like so there, and we'll add a building. I think we'll just add it right on the end like so. And then as for connecting it, we're going to connect it over in this area, and I think we'll just put a stop right here, as this stop covers this whole area, and then we'll just get a bus running from there down to the airport. Alright, so that should be everything complete in Montgomery. Montgomery is probably due to redo the bus network here, but I think we'll save that for another time, as we want to focus on getting our airports going and detailed. So we'll get to that first, and later on we'll get to redoing the Montgomery bus network. So I think it's time to set up our plane routes, and we definitely have unlocked a bunch more planes since the last time we took a look at these. So we'll take a look at our passenger planes, and we have some pretty big ones in here. So we'll get 4 planes on this route, and I think this one will be from Birmingham all the way across the map to, I suppose it would be Mesa. So we'll just add that right in. So that's a pretty long route. And then for our next route, we'll choose a slightly smaller plane with the Airbus A320. We'll get 3 of those planes, and those will go from Birmingham over to Montgomery. So this flight isn't quite as long. And then the last route we're going to set up from Birmingham will go over to Sacramento. So this will be, we'll get some more planes for this. I think this will choose the Boeing 737s. 3 of those coming from Sacramento over to Birmingham. So that's Birmingham pretty much connected up. So hopefully we'll see more demand in these airports now then as well. We'll have to take a look at the bus shuttles in each city here and make sure we're getting enough people up to the airports. But moving on from this, let's get over to Montgomery and set up some lines from there. So for our line over to Mesa, I think we'll get this plane here, the Bombardier Q400. We don't need anything too fast or large to go between these 2 cities, because it is quite a short trip, and I think that should work out just fine. So here come those planes for that route. And then the last route we should have to set up is from Montgomery to Sacramento. Alright, so here's our planes coming out of Montgomery. Those are going to start to go around, and hopefully pretty soon we'll start to see some passenger demand at these airports. So now let's start back up over here in Birmingham and start to do some detailing here. So I think first we'll come through and fix up the terrain a bit where we flattened it out and we lost some texture here in some places. So now that we've done that, you can see the terrain's a little bit rougher now and a little more believable. We did leave this flat spot because this is going to turn into our parking lot now. Alright, so we have the beginnings of our parking lot placed here. We'll go through add cars, and really that'll pretty much be it that we do for the Birmingham airport for now. Alright, and so this is pretty much what this is going to look like as our parking lot. I quite like it. I think it fits this area nicely, and we have room to expand if we wanted more parking over here or fill in this area more. We can do that as well. Alright, so now over here in Montgomery, we'll do the same thing. We'll neaten up the terrain a bit, then we'll add in our parking lot right here, and that'll pretty much be it for detailing at this airport. Alright, so now we have the terrain looking a little bit more natural around here. Let's get into our parking lot. Alright, so now this leaves us with a nice open area for a parking lot. We'll fill this out, and then that'll pretty much be it for this episode. Alright, and now this is what this area is going to look like, and I think that's pretty much how it's going to stay. So lastly, let's just go around and check our airports and our lines, see if we're moving people finally. And it looks like we are starting to move some people, as this one has 4, and it'll be picking up a few more. I'm sure the demand just needs to slowly build up, but Montgomery to Mesa definitely has demand there with 31 people. That's pretty much what I expect to probably be our most in-demand line over here. As well, you can see Montgomery to Modesto, or Montgomery to Mesa, is also very in demand. So we might need to add a few more of these planes. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. But I think this is starting to look pretty good, at least for the Mesa-Montgomery route. Now over in Birmingham, we do have a couple of people waiting, so that's good to see. We did just have some planes come in, and it looks like they don't have too many people just yet. Let's check our bus stop and make sure we're picking up enough people. So we have 4 people waiting, which seems about right. I suppose maybe it just needs more time to set in, as our planes did just really start getting up and running now. So let's lastly check our Sacramento airport. And the numbers are looking about the same over here. So I assume this will be something that'll take a while to get up to full speed, as it looks like our bus routes are doing just fine getting people up here. Maybe we just need more connections to it if we wanted to get more people moving around, but I think we're in a pretty okay state for all of these airports. So with that, that's going to be all for this video. I think maybe sometime soon in the future we'll get an airport at Jackson and Scottsdale, since that is pretty much our capital city, so it makes sense to probably have one there, but we'll hold off a little bit for now and see how our air travel does across the map. But with that, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.